Hello, everyone. Welcome to AutomationEdge training. The Agentic AI plugin provides a suite of advanced tools designed to automate complex business processes through generative AI techniques. It enables users to draft, customize, extract, and personalize content or text using advanced generative AI techniques. The plugin consists of 5 key steps, each designed to process, analyze, and enhance input data intelligently to produce context-aware, high-quality outputs. The Agentic AI plugin is a suite of 5 intelligent steps inside AutomationEdge that uses generative AI to automate complex, unstructured business processes. Unlike traditional automation where you program every decision, the Agentic AI plugin can understand language, reason through problems, and take autonomous actions. Agentic AI, which has these 5 steps. So first one is LLM step. This is as simple as chatting with the ChatGPT or Gemini, where you ask a question and it gives an answer, and then essentially you can also define a system prompt for it. And I'm going to do a demo of each of these steps, so we will go into the depth for each of it. Then we have knowledge base step, which is used to connect to an existing knowledge base in AI Studio, wherein you can get data reference of data and reference of files from the knowledge base project or knowledge management project that is in AI Studio. Then we have a classifier step that allows us to classify data without having to give thousands of rows to train the model. We have summarizer step, which allows us to get the crux of data that is there. AI agent, which is the main step which allows us to define personas and execute. So we are going to go through each of these steps, understand them in detail, and how these impacts the existing AutomationEdge workflows also. So I'm going to start with the most basic one, LLM step. As LLM plugin is used to connect to any LLM of your choice and get a response to your query. Also, it enables developers to define a system prompt that can have better control on the response. Let's go to Process Studio. Here you can see we have Workflow LLM Demo open in the canvas and Start step in the canvas. Let's add the LLM step. Let's open the LLM step to configure it. When we open the LLM step, the first thing we see is the Settings tab. This is where we configure our AI provider and model. AutomationEdge supports the providers, OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, Google Vertex AI, Google Gemini, AWS Bedrock. When we select a provider in AutomationEdge, 1. We must define the model name. 2. Based on that model, we configure the required LLM properties. For this demo, we're using Google Vertex AI with the Gemini 2.5 Flash model. We'll also configure API key, max tokens, temperature, and top P settings here. These parameters help control the output of the LLM. Temperature controls the creativity and randomness of LLM responses. Lower values produce more factual and predictable outputs, while higher values generate more creative and varied responses. Top P, top K influence token selection, randomness, max tokens limits response length, and the LLM headers tab allows custom API gateway headers for secure communication with LLM providers. Once all required settings are configured, click on Test. The system will validate API key. Connectivity, model access. As we can see, test is successful. The settings area will remain common for classifier, summarizer, agentic AI steps, except for the knowledge base step, since that does not directly use an LLM. At the input section, you will notice 2 parts. 1. System prompt. 2. User prompt. The system prompt is used to define the persona or set specific behavioral instructions for the LLM. For example, here let's define the persona as you are a software automation platform pre-sales expert. Answer the questions in a balanced way that covers both technical and functional aspects. Ensure the explanation is clear and easy to understand. This helps guide how the LLM responds. The user prompt is where we ask the actual question, such as, what is RPA automation? In most cases, the user prompt may change frequently because it depends on the question being asked. However, the system prompt usually remains constant, since the persona or behavior does not change often. That said, we still provide flexibility to modify it if required. Since this is a custom-designed field, you will notice 2 useful controls. Control plus space to insert variables. Shift plus space to insert fields. Additionally, we have the option to attach files or folders. For example, we can give an instruction like, summarize the attached document, Currently, we support the following file formats: DOCX, PDF, text files. Now let's move to the Output tab. In the Output section, you will see three key metrics: total tokens, input tokens, output tokens. The response shown here is the actual output generated for the prompt provided. You may wonder why we display input and output tokens separately. The reason is cost awareness. In most LLM pricing models, output tokens cost more than input tokens. Since output tokens are generally more expensive, it is important to monitor usage carefully. As many of you who have worked with LLMs know, they can generate very lengthy responses if not controlled. That is why we explicitly display token usage. In the settings, we can define the maximum token limit allowed for a response. This helps control response length and manage billing effectively. So whenever you design prompts or solutions, always keep cost optimization in mind along with functionality. Let's take text file output step to store the response. Now let's run the workflow. Let's open the text file. If you observe the response carefully, you will notice that it has generated a very detailed output. As I mentioned earlier, LLMs naturally tend to provide elaborate and extended explanations. They often go into more detail than required. This is exactly why you should always monitor the token usage and maintain a proper balance. So while designing workflows, always ensure the response is relevant and concise, token usage is optimized, cost is controlled. Keeping an eye on token balance is an important best practice when working with LLM-based workflows. Now let's move on to the summarizer step. As the name suggests, the summarizer is used to generate a summary of the input data. Here, we provide only one input. There is no additional context required. We simply pass the raw data, and the model returns a concise summary. Let's see summarizer step with simple demonstration. Here we have a workflow open as summarizer demo in Canvas and start step in the workflow. In this demo, we are going to see a scenario where a customer is upset or irritated, and they often send very long emails. In such cases, the actual issue or the crux of the message often gets buried inside a lot of extra information. This particular email is synthetically generated. It starts with general greetings, mentions things like productivity, monsoon updates, and other background details. But from an IT or support team perspective, we are not concerned about those details. We need to quickly understand the core issues. Let's take a generate template step for email. As you can see, I've added a mail body and step. Let's take a summarizer step on Canvas. The LLM settings remain the same as we have done in LLM plugin. In the summarizer step, we have simply read the mail from generate template step. The output field captures the summarized response in summary field. Let's store the summary in text file output. Let's run the workflow. Let's open the file and see the summary. You can see the original email was quite lengthy, but the summary is clear and precise. For example, the summary highlights: Alok Banerjee from the Pune office has reported high-priority issues. Project Swift entry invoice processing is intermittently failing. Specific invoices are problematic. Ronak's scheduling system runtime has significantly increased, impacting deadlines. GLS is not working. There is a request for a technical discussion and availability confirmation. You'll notice that all unnecessary information has been filtered out. The model has intelligently extracted only the key issues and action points. So, what does the summarizer step do? It processes large volumes of text and provides a concise summary. This could be a single long email, an entire email thread, lengthy chat conversations, large documents. All of these can be summarized using the summarizer plugin. Now, let's talk about the classifier step. In traditional ML classification, you would need thousands of labeled training rows, a data scientist, weeks of model training, and a deployment pipeline. With the classifier step, you need exactly 0 training rows. Let me give you a real scenario. Let's imagine AutomationEdge's inside sales team receives 200 plus leads per day. Prospects describe their problems in plain English. They don't say, "I need RPA." They say, "We manually verify 5,000 invoices and it takes forever." Your job is to figure out, is this an RPA lead? ITPA? Workload automation? Agentic AI? That's exactly what the classifier does. Let's go to Process Studio. As you can see, Workflow Classifier demo is open in Canvas. Let's take an Excel input. Read the Excel file received by our inside sales team, which has multiple customer queries. Let's see the preview data file. You can see here A customer wants to build a system that can handle complex queries and resolve issues without human intervention. Another team says they are spending a lot of time manually verifying more than 5,000 invoices. Someone else mentions they want to move away from their current scheduling tool because their IT team is overloaded. So essentially, these are double different types of incoming leads. Now the important question, what does the classifier do here? The classifier reads each incoming customer query and categorizes it based on the problem statement. This helps us to automatically route the lead, send it to the correct solution team, place it into the right solution bucket. No manual effort is required for sorting. We are using the same LLM settings as earlier, so I will skip the configuration tab for now. For input, I'm passing the field called query. If you check the field section in the Excel input, you will see query number, sender name, query. Here, I am selecting only the query field because that is the actual content I want the classifier to analyze. The model will read this problem statement and assign the appropriate category. In the additional context section, let's add persona as an inside sales expert in a software company providing a universal automation platform. This helps guide the LLM in understanding how to interpret and classify the queries. Now comes the most important part, categories. Let's define the categories with categories description. RPA, ITPA, workload automation, Agentic AI, generative AI. Notice something important here. Customers are not using these technical terms in their queries. They are describing their problems. For example, they won't say we need RPA. They will say, we are manually entering and verifying data, and it is time-consuming. The classifier understands the intent behind the problem and maps it to the correct category. Now let us go ahead and run it. We can see that the classifier is processing each row one by one. In preview data, we can see results. A query about customer support without human involvement, classified as generative AI. Manual invoice verification, classified as RPA. Moving away from a scheduling tool, classified as workload automation. ITPA, human-like conversational chatbot, classified as generative AI. It nailed everyone. And the beautiful part? Output tokens are just 2 to 3 because we only asked for the category name. High input, tiny output. Extremely cost-efficient. So, to summarize, in this video we explored the LLM, summarizer, and classifier plugins and learned how they can help automate content understanding and decision-making. In part 2 of the Agentic AI series, we will explore the Agentic AI and knowledge base plugins. For more information and support, visit to community.automationedge.com. Thank you for watching, and see you in Agentic AI Part 2.